Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be going over a very cold and snowy pattern that is going to be overtaking much of the areas east of the Rockies. This will be including, again, anywhere east of the Rockies, pretty much the entire central and eastern United States will be enveloped in some very cold air, at least for the start of October, potentially translating into a cold winter. We'll talk about what this cold start to October means for the start of winter and what that will translate to in terms of how much snow you'll see this winter. And we're just going to be going over the general pattern starting off early October and potentially a couple of snow events, especially for the northern plains, the upper Great Lakes, and also for parts of the mountainous northeast. Now, before we do get into it, I just really want to thank you guys for 1,000 subscribers. When I started my YouTube channel, I didn't even think I would reach 100 subscribers. So to get to 1,000 subscribers is quite mind-boggling, and I hope you guys did enjoy that little montage I did for my 1,000 subscribers thank you video, just showing you how I kind of changed from the start of my YouTube channel to now, and thought that was just very cool to look back, especially when I was compiling that. It was really cool to look back at my old and previous videos while I was making that. So I hope you guys did all enjoy that, and again, I really want to thank you guys for getting me to 1,000 subscribers, and that's something I never thought I would say, but again, I really want to thank you guys that I did get to 1,000 subscribers, and that's because of all of you guys who have subscribed to my YouTube channel. So let's get right into it here. Let's start off with your current National Weather Service page. I believe these are fire weather watches in effect for parts of Montana, South Dakota, Nebraska, much of Wyoming, and into Utah. I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure those are fire weather watches, and then also for Northern California, if I'm not mistaken, I think that is a fire weather watch, and I believe you also have those up for parts of Maine, New Hampshire, also into Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut, where actually yesterday you had a red flag warning, which was very unusual to see. You have red flag warnings for parts of Wyoming and Colorado, and also northwestern Nevada right now. We also see some air quality alerts for parts of Washington, California, Colorado, and also into Wyoming there. And then we also see some wind advisories for parts of coastal Washington and Oregon, as well as some high wind warnings for parts of northwestern Montana. We also see some flood watches in effect for parts of Mississippi, Arkansas, Louisiana, and into parts of Texas because of Tropical Storm Beta, which is progressing into parts of the south central United States. Now, here is the European Ensemble model, and the European Ensemble model is a collection of about 50 models. So we're going to take a couple of these individual little ensemble members, and we're going to look at what they show in terms of the 15-day snowfall. Now, this snowfall is only going out to October 7th. Now, that's 15 days out, so there's a lot that can still change, but I'm going to show you how a couple of these models are agreeing that certain areas will see some snowfall. Now, I'm going to pick out about 5 of the most interesting model runs that I saw, or model members that I saw from this run of the European Ensemble model. Now again, this is a collection of 50 models, and I'm picking out about 5 of them. So that's about 10% of these models that I'm picking out right now. So we're just gonna look at your 15-day snowfall for some of these models, and then we're gonna take a look at your temperature anomalies, and then we're gonna look at what that means for the overall pattern getting into winter. So let's start off here. Here's ensemble member 17, and this one really struck my eye because I did see a similar thing in the previous run of the GFS and the current run of the GFS, where we actually do see some sort of system that moves throughout this region and really plows parts of the northern Rockies and the northern plains, and especially into parts of Wyoming, Montana, and the Dakotas, with quite a bit of snowfall in some areas getting over 6 inches according to this, and also a couple different models. Now, here is ensemble member 4, which has a similar event but to a lesser extent. Now, again, this is all going through October 7th, so that is only through the early part of October, and if we stay with this cold pattern all the way into late October, don't be surprised if this snowfall line is dipping all the way south, or all the way this far south. So that would definitely be something to watch out for. You could see the snowfall line dip very far to the south, especially as we get into later October, assuming we're still in a cold pattern. Of course, that can still change. We don't have any model guidance that far out, but it'll definitely be interesting to see. The model guidance that we do have that goes that far out still keeps this cold pattern in place. So we'll have to see how that really does play out. Now, here would be, again, this would be through October 7th on ensemble member 7. So this is a different member. This is our third member, I believe, that we're looking at here. And we're looking at a little bit of snowfall for northern Maine as well as for parts of upstate New York and Pennsylvania. That is mainly the main thing I want to point out from this model. Now, let's look at another one. Ensemble member 14. Also, another area I just want to pick out for the potential for some snowfall. Parts of interior Wisconsin and parts of the UP of Michigan could potentially see a dusting or so, maybe a couple inches of snowfall. That's been popping up on a couple of models, and we see through the spine of the Rockies, especially in higher elevation areas, we're looking at potentially over 2 or maybe even 3 or 4 inches of snowfall, 6 or more inches in the higher peaks. Now, here would be ensemble member 26, and it has the same snow event for parts of the northern Rockies and northern plains, and we see again for much of Montana and also into Wyoming. That's where we're seeing the bulk of that snowfall. Now let's move on to one more model run, and I believe this is the last model member, and we're looking at a dusting for much of the interior northeast, but that is actually spreading fairly far to the south, and that's what really caught my eye there. And again, this is only going through October 7th in the morning, so Wednesday, October 7th in the morning hours. So definitely as we get probably near the 15th or later, we could see much more widespread snowfall maps, and this is very, very early in the season for even these areas to be seeing some snowfall. Now, let's continue this. Now let's look at the temperature anomaly map from the European ensemble model, and this is not an individual model. This is now collecting all those 50 models and kind of putting them all together and looking at what they show for temperature anomalies. Now this has been extremely consistent over the past couple of days. We see a big area of cold air just sitting over parts of Ontario, Canada, so that's your low pressure, and that is going to dip south into parts of the eastern United States, and you're going to see the entire eastern United States, for the most part, is going to be in some very, very cold conditions. Now, this would be by Wednesday morning on September 30th. Now, here would be by Thursday morning on October 1st, and we're looking at those areas in the greens over 4 degrees Celsius below normal, which is around 8 degrees Celsius below normal. This is an ensemble model, so it's averaging them all out. So if one model has maybe negative 15 degrees Celsius below normal and one model has negative 1 degree Celsius below normal, your average is still going to be negative 8 degrees Celsius, but we have two very different model solutions, and we have one that's a lot more impactful than the other. So this is not going to be the greatest for the individual or exact amount of how below average you're going to be. This is just showing you the positioning of the cold air and how intense it should look to be. Now, the positioning of this cold air has been fairly consistent. It looks to stay over the Tennessee Valley. I'll actually do that in a bigger font there. It's going to stay over the Tennessee Valley. It's just going to be sitting there for the next few weeks, and that will be churning up some very cold air that's coming straight from the Arctic and dipping south into parts of the United States. Now, let's move this forward. This would be by Friday morning on October 2nd. Here would be by Saturday morning on October 3rd, and this would be by Sunday morning on October 4th. Still that cold air very persistent over the eastern United States. Here would be by Monday on October 5th, and you're going to see we're actually going to get another wave later on in this model run of cold air that dips down and resupplies this cold air. And then you see right here, this is your next wave of cold air that's going to dip into parts of the eastern United States. And if I'm not mistaken, this is actually the last frame that I'm going to show you of this model. But we see that all the way through October 6th, the cold air is still around. Now, let's take a look at the Climate Prediction Center outlook for this cold air intrusion from Canada. Now, this would be the 6 to 10 day outlook from September 28th to October 2nd. So this is from the 28th to the 2nd, and we are looking at that core of the cold air over parts of the Tennessee Valley. Now, let's see how that shifts over the next 8 to 14 days, and we're looking at practically the same area getting impacted with the coldest temperatures and widespread impacts all the way throughout much of the eastern United States. This 8 to 14 day outlook is going from the 30th to the 6th of October. So I would again push this east. I actually said this in my last video as well. I would push this cold air east, and I would actually most likely put also for parts of Maine and easternmost New England also in this cold air, because I do think it will reach those areas by that point. This looks to be very, very far reaching, and I think it'll cover pretty much the entire eastern United States as we get into early October. Now, something I want to point out here, let's start looking at the correlation between a snowy October and also a snowy winter. Now, here are a couple, I believe I put out like 4 or 5 different years and the October snowfall. So this is the snowfall from the last day of September to the first day of November, and what this looks like. And you'll notice all of these years had fairly snowy winters for much of the eastern United States. Now, we see a lot of snowfall, especially for the northern Rockies. That's somewhere I really want you guys to pay attention to, as well as this region right here. Usually these two regions, when you see a lot of snowfall for these regions build in, that's when you can get quite a snowy winter. So if you get a lot of snowfall, especially in October or November in the Rockies and parts of the upper Great Lakes, that could correlate to a snowy winter. Now, I'll keep this drawing on the map on the map right here, and let's move this forward. Now, this would be for the year of 2014. The last frame was from 2017, so it would be the winter from 2017 to 18. Here's the winter of 2014 to 15, and look, we still have quite a bit of snowfall all the way getting down into parts of western North Carolina, western Virginia, eastern Tennessee, eastern Kentucky. So that one got really far to the south, but generally those same areas still have snowfall, and this was also a very snowy winter. Look at this. This is 2013. We're looking at again a very snowy winter where you're seeing potentially, if this snowstorm in the plains actually sets up, we could see something similar to what happened in 2013-14, where in that October you saw a very big snowstorm, but and also in the winter you also saw a very, very snowy winter. Look at also that snow in the interior Northeast. That's accumulating to maybe 1 or 2 inches, maybe 3 or 4 for October, and maybe closer to 6 over parts of the UP of Michigan for October. Now I'll move this forward once again here, and this is for 2009, and this is the last year we're going to look at. But 2009-10 was also a very snowy winter for parts of the northern plains and also the Northeast, the Great Lakes. All of those regions saw a snowy winter, especially for 2009 to 10, and this is what the winter of that year looked like. So you can really tell the correlation between a snowy October and a snowy winter. Usually if you get a warmer December, that usually correlates also to a snowy winter. That doesn't always go together, but sometimes it does. So we'll have to see how this pattern plays out, and that'll definitely indicate whether we're going to be on track for a snowy or a mild winter to come. So I hope you guys did all enjoy that video. Again, I really want to thank you guys for getting me to 1,000 subscribers. If you haven't already, please subscribe, turn on notifications, and leave a like on this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.